for Nazi.
Get out, John!
These boys must think I'm somebody else.
The film opens with a man named Travis working at a retirement home. He receives distressing news from his boss. He's been let go due to budget reductions. The following day, he joins an anti-war demonstration with a friend who reminds him of all the odd jobs he would take in college to earn some money. Chaos erupts at the protest when a soldier jumps in to attack the demonstrators, pushing a beautiful woman whom Travis has been observing to the ground. Travis intervenes, restraining the soldier and threatening him with his fist, but refraining from actually hitting him. The police escort the soldier away, and Travis checks on Bay, inviting her for a drink after the protest ends. They discuss their activism experiences at the bar before Bay confesses that this will be her final protest as she's relocating to India. She invites Travis to do the same. However, he explains that he can't do it without money, but he does ask to see her again before she leaves.
Can I see you again?
Later, Travis scans the classifieds and stumbles upon an advertisement seeking participants for a behavioral experiment that will pay $1,000 per day for 2 weeks. He decides it can't hurt to give it a shot. The next day, he attends the initial meeting, where he befriends and engages in small talk with 2 other volunteers, Michael, Barris, and Benji. The person in charge is Dr. Arculeta, who instructs them to fill out a form before explaining the nature of the experiment. They will examine the conditions of life inside a state prison, with the only requirement being that none of them have served any time in prison. The participants will always be safe, but they must understand that some subjects will have their civil rights restricted. Following this, the doctor conducts tests to determine the 26 chosen participants, which include a recorded interview with morally charged questions. Travis indicates that he doesn't have a history of incarceration or violence, and his interest in religion is a simple no. He bases his ethical decisions on how he feels. Michael shares his experience as a Boy Scout, in the drill team, and in various church groups because of his devotion. Another volunteer named Chase states that he has lived his life based on 3 things: women, pot, and smiles. After the interview, the participants are taken to a sealed room where they're shown a video of contrasting images, including heartwarming scenes like children playing and animals interacting, and more intense images such as clips from the news.
Mr. Hunt. Yep, I'm good.
Sometime later, Travis travels to see Bay to spend their last moments together. While tenderly kissing his gentle knuckles, she expresses her certainty that he wouldn't have confronted the angry soldier at the protest. They also discussed India during the trial and how Travis envisioned finding her there. Travis is selected for the final group, and on the appointed day, a bus collects all the chosen participants, including the new friends Travis made during the meeting. During the journey to the prison, they all reflect on their loved ones and the responses they provided about them during the trial. In the interview, Benji recalls a barista from his favorite cafe and states that women are vital on Earth. Chase thinks of a casual relationship where he wasn't particularly considerate. Michael thinks of his highly controlling mother, and Travis feels of the defining moment Bay shared. Upon arriving at the prison, the bus driver forbids them from bringing their bags, which causes Benji some concern. Dr. Archuleta addresses them on the first day and offers a final opportunity to withdraw. He emphasizes that violence is prohibited, and any display of violence captured by the cameras will lead to termination of the trial. Michael, Chase, Bosch, Hellweg, and 2 other participants are chosen as the 6 guards, while the remaining 20 become prisoners.
I think we just got our answer.
The guards are responsible for preventing any items from entering or leaving the cell block, and the prisoners must always adhere to 5 rules. They must eat 3 meals daily, with all food consumed, receive 30 minutes of recreation time daily, stay within designated prisoner areas, speak only when spoken to, and refrain from physical contact with the guards under any circumstances. Violations of these rules will result in proportional punishment. If anyone leaves, no one will receive payment. If a detainee does break the rules, the officers have 30 minutes to choose disciplinary action. If they fail to do that, a red light will be turned on, the experiment ends, and there won't be any payment. After the doctor leaves, the officers prepare the detainees like a real prison, washing them all with a hose. Bosch shows compassion for having to put them through this. Still, Chase is already having fun calling them names and embarrassing a volunteer called Oscar. Afterwards, detainees are placed in a line while the officers read the rules. From now on, inmates will be addressed only by their numbers. Travis ends up in a cell with Benji, a graphic novel artist, and Nix, a man who insists on being referred to by his number. A flashback of the interview shows why some volunteers joined the experiment. Nix and another man mention the cash. Michael is doing it for his mother because she broke her hip and he needs to pay rent. Chase wants to impress women with the money, and Travis says he wants to escape. During rec time, the detainees play basketball, and one accidentally hits Bosch with the ball. The officers take him away to look at his wound, and while Bosch insists it's okay because it was an accident, Chase and Hellweg insist this is broken Rule 5. Not wanting to risk the light turning on and losing the money, they all agree to punish the detainees in a way that matches something supposedly accidental. So the man who threw the ball is asked to do 10 push-ups, which he refuses to do because it was an accident. In response, Chase makes everyone do the push-ups, and Nix immediately jumps. Hence, the others have no choice but to follow his example. Michael is amazed by such a response and begins to enjoy the taste of power, especially when the 30 minutes pass and the light doesn't turn on, which means they did the right thing. On day 2, the detainees are served a classic, horrible prison lunch. Nix finishes it all before leaving, but the rest refuse to eat the strange bean goo, so Hellweg and Chase remind them that it would break a rule. Travis responds by dropping his food on Hellweg's hands, so the officers try to punish them with push-ups again. Still, the detainees pay no attention to them, and everyone starts tossing all their food in trays at Hellweg. After that, the officers discuss what happened. Chase is annoyed because the only reason the detainees do that is that they know the guards can't physically harm them. Suddenly, Michael recalls the time he was admitted into a fraternity with similar rules and concludes that to break the detainees' spirits, they must humiliate them. They enter each cell as a penalty and discharge several fire extinguishers on the detainees. Michael also drags Travis out and restrains him to the cell door, so he'll have to sleep on the floor for being the troublemaker.
There will be no more incidents like there was today.
Later, when Michael goes to the restroom to rinse off, he realizes his body enjoyed having authority a little too much. In the middle of the night, Benji requests assistance. He's experiencing heat flashes due to low blood sugar, but the guards instruct him to return to bed. On day 3, Michael reminds everyone to abide by the rules, but he becomes upset when Benji hasn't left the bed because he isn't feeling well. The guards check the form he submitted stating he had diabetes, but he managed it with diet. He had brought some snack bars, but they didn't let him keep the bag when they arrived. The guards force him to vacate the bed nonetheless. Travis attempts to defend his friend, prompting Michael to become increasingly agitated when nothing he says persuades Travis to comply. Michael's anger leads him to brandish his police baton, but Travis reminds him that violence would lead to the loss of the money. The guards intervene to prevent Michael from doing anything foolish and send all the detainees back to their cells. Nix and Travis discuss the motives behind the experiment, and Nix believes they are placing animals in a cage to see who becomes a lion and survives. Travis disagrees because he believes humans are higher on the evolutionary ladder. He confesses that Nix lied about his application and that he had been to prison before, a realization he reached when he noticed his Aryan tattoo. Nix makes him promise not to disclose this to anyone and cautions him not to get into trouble because these guys act just like regular guards. This is why Nix always follows the rules without hesitation. He wants his payout. Back in the office, the guards are having a discussion too. Chase thinks the detainees will rebel at any moment, while Bosch disagrees because it would cost them money. Michael does believe they should do something to intimidate them into submission. The guards take Travis out of his cell and tie him to a chair to shave his head, while an inebriated Michael gives him a speech about weakening the leader. Then Michael asks him if there will be respect from now on, but Travis insults him. Enraged, Michael kicks the chair to make him fall, then proceeds to urinate on him, an action some guards like Bosch disagree with, but others decide to join.
What the hell?
Because the light doesn't turn on, the guards assume their punishment has been approved. However, Bosch is angry and tells his fellow guards that if something like this happens again, he'll withdraw from the experiment, not caring if it costs everyone the money. After Travis returns to his cell, he watches Michael from a distance and recalls the interview again. When asked what he would do if a loved one was severely harmed and the law failed to prosecute, he responded he didn't think in terms of justice because justice was what starts wars based on an eye for an eye philosophy. On day 4, Travis conceals some bread in his pockets during lunch, which he later takes to Benji, who is still unwell in bed. Benji admits he needs insulin, and he lied on his application to be accepted, thinking he could manage it with food and tough it out. Travis wants to inform the guards or the scientists, but Benji refuses, saying he needs to do this to stop feeling like a fraud. Later at night, Chase attempts to get busy with his hand, but Hellweg can hear him and asks him not to do it in the room. Meanwhile, Bosch comes by the cells to check on Benji, who is still unwell. Travis tells him he'll pay him part of his money if he brings over Benji's insulin, and Bosch initially refuses. But eventually, he gives in for free, leaving to search for the bags they arrived with. Back to Chase, he's left the room to get Oscar out of his cell and take him to an abandoned room with no cameras. There, he tries to force Oscar onto his knees and make him use his mouth. But Michael finds them before they can go far and demands an explanation. Chase lies and says Oscar had some intel on Travis that he didn't want to share in front of everyone. Still, the conversation gets interrupted again, this time by Hellweg. He takes all the guards back to the office to show them what he's found on the cameras. It's Bosch rummaging through the bags. They go after him, and after seeing the insulin in his pocket, Michael gets him to confess who asked for it by promising forgiveness. Afterwards, Michael takes the insulin to Benji and makes Hellweg take Travis to the bathroom. While shaving his head there, Michael says he isn't a monster. Travis broke the rules, and the experiment continued because the scientists approved his actions. According to him, Benji has always been safe. Travis thinks Michael should use his prize money to check into a mental facility. A furious Michael decides on the subsequent punishment.
Toilet. Enough of this shit, man. To clean that toilet.
Hellweg shoves Travis's head in the toilet. At first, Travis keeps insulting them, but eventually his spirit breaks. He does as he's told and finally says aloud that he's just a prisoner. Once he's sent back to his cell, he breaks down and cries. Later in the middle of the night, the guards take Bosch off the bed and beat him up as punishment in that abandoned room with no cameras. On day 5, Benji feels better and joins the others in the daily routine. But Michael has another surprise for them. Bosch will become a prisoner for breaking the rules. Annoyed by Michael's condescending speech, Travis takes off his uniform shirt. While his fellow prisoners follow his lead, he climbs a cell door to ask the camera to open the gates.
Open the gate.
Michael drags him down and presses him to the floor with his baton on Travis' neck. So Benji tries to help by hitting Michael on the back of his head. Michael responds by striking him with his baton, which leaves Benji twitching and bleeding on the floor. As punishment, Michael orders the guards to divide the prisoners up and isolate them so they can't communicate. Nobody would leave them. Travis gets the worst of it with an old boiler pipe for the night. Even in that pipe, there's a camera. One of the guards isn't very happy with this mess and wants to leave, calling Michael crazy. Still, once again, Michael reminds him no red light means they're behaving correctly, so nobody is going. On day 6, Chase visits Oscar in the abandoned room to hit him and finish what they started the other day. Meanwhile, Travis begins to lose his mind, but he gets an idea when he remembers that he still has his bracelet. He removes it and uses it to open the pipe door, hearing Oscar's cries for help as soon as he comes out. Travis rushed to save him, hitting Chase from behind and grabbing him while Oscar knocked him unconscious with his own handcuffs. Then they used Chase's keys to free all the prisoners. Nix was finally tired of playing nice, but it was too late for Benji and he had died from his injuries. The prisoners were furious and ready to fight.
Got in trouble.
Jesus, what do we do?
As they began attacking the office door to get it open, Michael grabbed a knife to defend himself. Still, the other guards thought he was crazy since they were clearly outnumbered. They ran away, and Michael followed them, trying to convince them to stay behind and fight to regain power. However, they couldn't leave the building because they couldn't open the gates from the inside. The prisoners caught up with them and began beating the guards up, with Travis calling dibs on Michael. When Michael tried to use the knife, Travis caught it with his hand, and after pushing Nix out of the way, he began beating up Michael as well. The fight suddenly ended when the red lights finally flashed and the gates were opened, allowing everyone to get out. Hours later, the bus came to pick them up. Everyone returned home with a hefty paycheck and wearing the same clothes they arrived in as if nothing had happened. Nix asked Travis if he thought humans were higher in the evolution chain. Travis replied yes, because humans can do something about it. Many days later, the experiment appeared on the news. Dr. Archuleta was being tried for manslaughter in Benji's death, and most of the prisoners agreed to testify against him. Travis traveled to India and met with Bay, who noticed that his knuckles were not soft anymore.